What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. Now, since we have last spoken, we now have a 5th album cover for Taylor Swift's new album, The Life of a Showgirl, which to my standards, that is 4 album covers too many. But you know what? Sure, why not, Taylor? Go crazy. I'm also on this new idea and this new assumption that we're going to get announcements every Monday, or Mondays are going to be the date, because we got the announcement for the actual album and the podcast teaser last Monday. Then this Monday, we got the vinyl variants. So I'm curious if this upcoming Monday, we get something else. Somebody else pointed out the fact that there were like 4 locks on the initial countdown to the podcast when she announced the initial like pre-order, whatever it was called that we talked about last week. So I'm wondering if like the next 2 Mondays now, we're going to have other announcements related to The Life of a Showgirl. We will see. But like I said, we are now at number 5 for album covers. So we're going to keep a tally on the podcast and see how many album covers we get to at the end. Nonetheless, I am still very excited for this album. And I actually really do love this album cover. And it is interesting. She changed all of her profile pictures to this album cover, which seems weird because if the original album cover is the original album cover, why are we treating this alternate cover of this vinyl variant, which is the shiny bug variant, which like, what the fuck is a shiny bug? Don't even get me started there. But why is she changing her profile picture already to this new album cover? I don't know. It seemed very weird, but you know what? Taylor Swift is going to do what Taylor Swift wants to do. And I'm not going to question it because I am so excited for this album and I cannot wait. Something else that has happened since we last spoke is I went to go see Oh Mary for a second time, this time with the Monsoon administration, with Jinx Monsoon playing Mary Todd Lincoln. And I did not think I could love this show any more than I did the first time that I saw it. And I loved it even more the second time. This show is it's brilliant. It's stupid. It's funny. It's silly. It is genius. And I can't stress enough how badly everybody needs to see this show. It is seriously one of the funniest things I have ever seen in my life. And like I was saying, I saw it already once with the original Broadway cast and I loved it so much. Like I have been raving about this show to anybody who will listen for the last 8 months, however many months it's been since I saw it. And so when I went into it the second time, I was like, all right, don't expect to love it as much. Like, you don't know, it's a whole new cast. Like I knew Jinx and I know they would be great, but you can't compare anything to an original Broadway cast. You know, it's always going to be a little bit different. And it definitely was a different vibe in terms of just like the relationships with the characters and things like that, just because the original Broadway cast had been playing those characters for so long and were so marinated in the roles. And this new Monsoon administration, I saw them, I want to say like 10 days after they opened. But let me tell you, they were all so hysterical and so great. Like the cast is really small. It's only 4 or 5 people. So they really have to have a good relationship with each other in this show, because otherwise the show, it won't make sense and it won't be as funny, and the comedic timing and their mannerisms and, you know, how they act on stage or things like that. Like if they are not all working as a well-oiled machine, the show just doesn't work. And this cast was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. If you've been thinking about going to see Oh Mary, buy your tickets. If you were coming to New York and it wasn't on your list, add it to your list. They're actually on Broadway week right now. It's 2 for 1 tickets. So if you want to go see it, you can get buy one, get one free tickets right now through, I think, like September 20th or something. Don't quote me on that. I know it started today and it goes for like a week or 2. So go to just like Google search Broadway week Oh Mary. It should come up, but they are doing 2 for 1 tickets right now. Take advantage of this sale. There's so many shows actually on it that I'm like, I need to take advantage of this, because there's so many shows I haven't seen that are on it that I'm like, I've been dying to go. So I will definitely be dabbling in some Broadway week deals as well. But if you are looking for something to do, go see Oh Mary. I cannot stress. The hype about this show isn't even it's not a fraction of how good it actually is. Like, there are no words to actually convey how funny this show is and how incredible the cast is. Just go see this show. Trust me, you will thank me later. And if you want to go by yourself and don't want to do a 2 for 1, you can also get tickets on SeatGeek and use code 2POP to handle and save $20 off. There's really so many ways to save some money and get some fun ha-has in at Oh Mary this time of year. But that being said, we have a very exciting show in store. So I think the best way to go about it is to just dive right in and kick things off off with our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week, and our new music releases from this week. And if you listened to last week's episode, you might have remembered when I said I had nothing on my radar for last week coming out. Well, my surprise when I opened my phone and had like 3 things pre-saved pop up and populate in my Apple Music, and then just like seeing things released on Instagram, I was like, holy shit, there was a shit ton of releases last week and I completely missed them all. I also am having this realization, and maybe it's turning 30 and my brain is just like giving out on me. I've been so bad with dates lately. Like, I could not tell you the day of the week or the date of the week if my life depended on it. Like, I have been so bad, and I'm usually somebody who is very good with dates and days and things like that. Something about, maybe it's like getting laid off and just like having my schedule all kind of up in the air for a little bit. I'm like still not regulated to it. I don't know what it is. The date has been a struggle for me, and maybe turning 30, like my mind is going, like, I don't know what's happening, but I've been so off with a calendar lately. I'm like forgetting people's birthdays and I'm mixing up my days of the week. Like, it has been, something's going on. I don't know. But that being said, there was hella music that came out last week, and it was honestly, for the most part, all really good. And this first release is a release that was not on my radar, but my boyfriend is a huge fan of this artist, and he was like, you need to listen to this song. You are going to love it. And I'm going to go on record and say it's one of my favorite songs that has been released this entire year. I actually have not stopped listening to it. It is so good. And it is Khalid's new single, In Plain Sight. I am obsessed with this song. I think it is so much fun, such a vibe. I love the beat. I love the lyrics. He's like spilling the tea on him and this guy. And now that he's kind of, out, I mean, it sucks the way that he was outed. Like, that's such a shitty thing to do, but like, he is out, he is proud. And like, seeing a Black queer person making pop music is so exciting. And I am just really excited for this new Khalid album, because though he's not an artist that I typically subscribe to or listen to, I feel like he's always somebody who is putting out great music, but I just, I don't listen to him that often. However, this new single and this album, I am fully all in on, and I am so excited for whatever is to come. It comes out October 10th. So we have a few more weeks till it comes out. I don't know if we'll get another single or anything, but I am obsessed with this new song. Like I said, it's called In Plain Sight by Khalid. Go listen to this song. It is a fucking banger, and I am obsessed. And I guarantee you it will be my favorite song of the year by the end of the year when I do my wrap up, but we're obviously a few months away from that. Moving on to the next release, we had another single from Miss Cardi B. This is called Imaginary Players. It's the second release from her upcoming album, Am I the Drama? But I guess technically the 4th single, because Up and WAP are included on the album, which we already talked about. So the second release, but the 4th single, I guess, whatever. And she's just talking her shit. She is fully just talking about how much money she has, how beautiful she is, how her, what did she say? She was like, your booking fee is what I pay for to get my hair done. Like, she is just talking her shit, and it's fine. I don't think it's as strong as Outside. Outside was such a great way for her to come back and like kick off this era. And I don't think this song is bad by all means. It's just not what I expected from a second single from Cardi B, but it's only the second album we've gotten from her, so who knows what to expect from her these days. But I mean, again, not bad, but definitely Outside is the stronger of the two. But I am very excited to see what is, what is coming for the rest of this album. The next release from last week was Ashnikko Trinkets. Now, I didn't even realize that Ashnikko had put out a single called Itty Bitty in March. That like completely went over my head and was not on my radar at all, which I'm so upset by, because I just listened to it for the first time today and I loved it. However, she released the new single for her upcoming album Smoochies that comes out October 7th. October is going to be a really busy month for music. Lots going on in October. But so she released this first single, Itty Bitty, back in March, kind of as like a standalone, and it is on the album. However, Trinkets, the new song that just came out on Friday, was like the single that came out with the announcement of the album. So we're not that behind on releases. We can catch up quick. There's only 2 singles, and I am loving both of them. But obviously, Trinkets is what just came out, so we're going to focus on her. I am loving it. It is so much fun. I want to be at a club, 5 drinks deep, sunglasses on, the lights are going, and just going crazy to this song. I saw Ashnikko at Gov Ball. God, that had to be like 3 years ago now. I think it was my boyfriend and I's first Gov Ball together. If not first, our second. It was one of the first times we went, and we went to Ashnikko's set because we like knew her songs from TikTok and like definitely knew that we would have fun at her set, but we left her set so in awe. Like, she was unbelievable. And now I am just like forever a fan because I think she is so sick and such a great performer and really just like marches to the beat of her own drum. And I am so excited to get a new project from her. So I will definitely have all eyes next few weeks to see what else she is releasing from this upcoming album, Smoochies. And the final single from the week that we're going to chat about is Miss Zara Larsson. She released a new song called Crush, and it is a banger. I can't believe I've been sleeping on Zara Larsson for so long. Like, this is totally my fault because I just like never got on the wave, but like all the music she has been putting out this year has been incredible. She has an album coming out September 26th, and this is the third single from the album, and I am loving it. Like I said, I kind of regret sleeping on her for so long because I feel like she really has been releasing killer pop music, and I need to like get up on my Zara Larsson game because I fear I've been missing out. And this new album, it might do it for me. Like, I might be all in on Zara Larsson after this, but I'm loving this new single. And those are all of our singles from last week, but there were 2 albums that came out, and one of them is a brand new one. One of them is a deluxe version of an album that came out earlier this year. For the brand new one, it is Conan Gray's new album, Wishbone, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I was listening to it and I was like, my thing with Conan Gray is he has songs that I absolutely love. There's usually like 2 to 3 songs on every album he puts out that I think are killer songs, like 10 out of 10, truly like pop perfection. And then the rest of the album just doesn't make it into my rotation. And like, I listen to it 1 or 2 times and I'm like, yeah, this isn't sticking for me. And it's the same case with this album. And this isn't a judgment of his character or his talent or anything like that. It's just a personal thing for me. Like, it's not music that I would typically seek out, but I do think he's really talented and do really like what he's doing with his music and all of his like his visual aesthetic and things like that. Like, when he did his Gov Ball performance, he like came out on a boat. I was like, that's fucking cool. And like, I enjoy seeing male pop stars doing fun things like that. So I always give him a fair shot. And I do think he's really talented. But again, it just doesn't always stick for me. However, on this album, I am loving Romeo and My World. Those 2 songs, I listened to them and I was like, I got to play these back. I literally replayed them like 2 or 3 times each because I loved them so much and I think they were great. Like I said, the whole project is really good. It's just not something I see myself going back and listening to that often. However, what I do see myself going back and listening to pretty often, and the standard version of this album I've been listening to very regularly this year, is Coco Jones' Why Not More Deluxe. Like I said, the regular version came out, I want to say it was like March when it dropped, and it is fantastic. It is definitely not getting the praise that it deserves. I think it is so good. I just think Coco Jones in general is very slept on, but that's a conversation for another day. But she dropped 8 new tracks on this new album, and I think she did a perfect job with this deluxe version because it's songs that actually enhance the original project. Sometimes you get a deluxe version and it just feels like they wanted to slap a few songs on, release an extra, another version, and just get some sales out of it. These 8 tracks feel very intentional and they very much continue the story and the vibe of the album and enhance it. It's not just like extra fluff, but it feels like songs that she could have taken some out of the album and switched them and had the original album songs on the deluxe and deluxe ones on the album, and it would have still felt the same, if that makes sense. Like, it feels cohesive. Loving this deluxe version. Some of my favorites, I loved Control Freak. I think it was a perfect example of what Coco Jones really excels at, which is killer stunning vocals on a really fun, upbeat R&B type track. Like, she's just so good. She knows her voice and she knows the vocal styling that works best for her, and she does it so well. And I think Control Freak is the perfect example of Coco Jones performing at her absolute best. I also loved the Here We Go remix with Leon Thomas. Their voices together, my God, I was sitting there at my desk listening to it today and I was like, holy shit, I could feel myself levitating out of my body listening to Leon Thomas and Coco Jones sing together because their voices were just so beautiful and complemented each other so incredibly well. And then the final song that we're going to talk about is Passport, because my girl is getting saucy on this song. She is getting down and dirty, and the lyrics on this song were killing me. She says, and I quote, "Give me that neck brace without the brace. Give me that headache without the ache. Take me hot to go like Chapel Roan." I was fucking dying. She was just talking her shit on this song and fully going for it. And you know what? Hell yeah, Coco. Do what you gotta do. You know, get your neck brace without the brace, get your headache without the ache, and do your thing. I was listening to the song and literally cracking up at the lyrics, and not in a way of like laughing at them. I was just like, this is incredible wordplay. I'm obsessed. And this deluxe version gets the Too Pop to Handle stamp of approval for sure. And that wraps up our releases from last week. But coming up this week, we have a very exciting release on my radar. Jay Stevens, who I have been loving for the last year. I talked about her last year when her EP Sellout came out. And then if you're subscribed to my Substack, I did that whole post about 7 artists to add to your playlist in 2025. And she was on that list. She is now releasing part 2 of Sellout. So Sellout 2 is coming out this Friday, August 22nd. And I am so excited. Her first EP is fantastic. Just so good. I think it's 5 songs. So good. Every single one of them. And I'm so excited for a continuation of this project. Really, really excited for this and cannot wait to listen to that and chat all about it next week. But that's the only release on my radar as of now. Who knows what I have pre-saved on my phone though? It will pop up on my Apple Music like it did on Friday. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing really on my radar. Oh, I did see that Kelly Clarkson. Oh my God. Tori Kelly is releasing a single on Friday as well. I forget what it was called. She sent out like an Instagram, you know, those community message things. Hang on, let's look. Because I love Tori Kelly and I'm very excited that she is doing some music again. Yes, my new single, Make a Baby, is yours on Friday. Pre-save here if you haven't already. So new Tori Kelly as well this Friday. So some exciting releases. We will chat all about them next week. And that wraps up our Drew releases. And now before we get into the next segment of the show, I just like to take this time to remind you guys that if at any point during this show you are loving what you were hearing, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating wherever you are listening. It is seriously the best way to help support the show and to help me grow and to get into new people's algorithms. Unfortunately, in the year 2025, we have to conform to algorithms and, you know, feed the monster that is the internet. And all it takes is a 5-star rating to help me grow the show and to find new people. So if you are loving what you were hearing, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. If you're watching on YouTube and wondering how you can help out, don't you worry. There are plenty of ways you can help as well. Make sure you subscribe, drop a comment, hit thumbs up, send the episode to a friend. You know, you could just share the wealth of Too Pop to Handle. Everything is greatly appreciated. Too major for me to really focus on a whole like half hour in the episode. So we're just going to do a pop culture yapathon and do some rapid fire pop culture for the entire episode, which I think is a really fun way to just kind of catch up with you guys, keep it casual. So without further ado, let's start the yapping now. First things first, we have our first round of VMA performers and honorees, and I am so excited. So first up, we have our performers. Sabrina Carpenter, Alex Warren, Somber, J Balvin, and DJ Snake were all announced as performers this week, as well as 2 honorees. The first one being Busta Rhymes getting the Rock the Bells Visionary Award, which is the first time they're giving out this award ever at the VMAs, and then also Ricky Martin getting the Latin Icon Award. And I feel like this list really gives a little bit of everything for everybody, you know, like everyone gets a little bit of something from this list. Obviously, I'm most excited for Sabrina Carpenter just because that's my girl. You know, we love Sabrina Carpenter here at Too Pop to Handle, and I'm so excited to see what she has in store. I mean, her VMA performance from last year was so iconic, kissing the alien and the moon man and everything. Like, I know she's going to pull out some crazy stops for this performance, and I'm pretty sure it's her first performance after Man's Best Friend comes out, or at least that we know of as of now. So really excited to see what she does there, and I'm excited for all of these, honestly. I feel like they're all going to bring a little bit of something different, so it really kind of diversifies the performances. And now there's, of course, some other exciting announcements coming up soon for the VMAs. We still need the Vanguard and the rest of the like presenters and things like that. So there's tons of more exciting surprises coming in store for the VMAs this year that I cannot wait to see what they are and who they are. But as of now, I feel like it's going to be a really exciting show, and I cannot wait to see what goes down September 7th. It'll be on CBS and Paramount Plus. Very exciting things happening over in VMA world. Moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. Coldplay is about to enter their Brat era, so it seems. Chris Martin wrote in the official program for the band's Music of the Spheres World Tour that he is not able to pin down his music taste. And he said that I'm still such a fan of music and I'm always looking at other artists. So for example, if I see Charlie XCX doing Von Dutch and I think this is the best thing I've ever seen, I'm also like, okay, right. So what are we doing next? And he said that seeing what Charlie created with Brat has really inspired him for whatever Coldplay's next move will be musically. He said that it really showed power and how music can make you feel alive. And now I personally don't know how Coldplay is going to take such a hard left turn and create anything similar to what Charlie XCX is doing. And I don't say that in a sense of like they can't do it. I just can't imagine Chris Martin singing 365 or any type of hyperpop song. Like if you look at Coldplay's discography, yeah, they've gone in and out of like, you know, like a more rock sound and more pop sound and things like that, but they kind of stay in their lane. And just thinking of Coldplay and like their fan base and like the people that they attract, I just don't see them clinging to or, you know, finding any connection to music such as Brat by Charlie XCX. And that's not to anybody's fault. It's just, you know, different strokes for different folks. I just feel like it's not really a match made in heaven, but it does kind of go back to this idea of the way that Brat has really influenced music. It's so undeniable. And like I said a few weeks ago, I'm working on a Substack master post of just like everything that has happened since the Brat era that is reminiscent of it. So different album rollouts or people making music changes and things like that because of how successful Brat was. And I just can't get over how cool it is to see the way that Brat has created this like subculture kind of cult following that reached the masses that you never really thought it would reach. You know, it wasn't necessarily music that everybody was listening to or that would really ring true with the general public until it did. And like everybody is now trying to chase that high and replicate that same idea of the community that was driven around Brat. And as soon as you would see a color or that font or know anything regarding the Brat era, you could identify it. And now we're seeing so many artists trying to chase that. And I just don't think it's ever going to be as big or as authentic as Brat was because it was kind of accidental. I mean, Charlie did plan out the Brat era very specifically. Like she knew what she wanted to do. However, I don't think the scale in which she planned the Brat era was as big as it ended up being. Like, I don't know if she ever imagined performing like 365 at the Barclays Center or, you know, things like that. Like I think it just hit in such a different way because it was so authentically true to who Charlie was. It was just like this giant dance celebration of everything she had worked for. So when you see an artist like Chris Martin say, our next album might draw inspiration from Charlie XCX Brat, I'm like, what the fuck does that sound like? Like, what does that mean? And how, in fact, is Chris Martin and the rest of Coldplay going to get up on that stage and sing a song that is reminiscent of 365 or Von Dutch or 360 or anything that Charlie XCX has ever put out? I, for one, will be sad and will be very excited to see how they pull this one off and how inspired by Brat Coldplay tends to get. But we'll have to wait and see for that. But I just thought this was really interesting. And again, just spoke to that idea of like Brat really having this chokehold on musicians and the culture that is so undeniable. And whether you liked Brat or not, like I know it wasn't necessarily for everybody, but like you cannot deny the chokehold and the power that era had on culture and on everything. Like this is going into pop culture history books, you know, like Brat was a stamp on pop culture that you will never be able to erase. And I am loving seeing the aftermaths of it. Moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle, we are getting a Glee reunion that seems so wrong. It just does not seem the way that we should be doing a Glee reunion. So 10 years after the finale of Glee airs, Heather Morris, Amber Riley, Dot Marie Jones, Jenna Ushkowitz, Cord Overstreet, Becca Tobin, Alex Noel, and Max Adler will all be on Celebrity Weakest Link that is hosted by Jane Lynch. So Jane Lynch has hosted Weakest Link since 2020 and is coming back for a new season on Fox for the first time, which Fox is the network that Glee was on. So it does make sense in that, in that realm. However, this is just not the way that I would imagine a Glee reunion for 10 years to be. And we've had, the Glee cats reunite over the years in different ways. I know like Leah Michelle and Diana Agron went to go see Darren Criss in Maybe Happy Ending. And of course, Leah and Jonathan Groff are super close. And Jenna and Kevin do the Glee podcast. And, we've seen the Glee cast reunite over the years. But like, first and foremost, having a Glee reunion without most of the original cast. I mean, we don't have Chris Colfer. We don't have Leah Michelle. We don't have Darren Criss. We don't have Kevin McHale. Like, there are a lot of people missing from this list that could have been involved in this reunion. And now I do know that a lot of the cast did have some issues, behind the scenes, and a lot of them don't speak anymore. However, like, it seems like a weird reunion. It seems weird for them to be doing a 10-year reunion on Celebrity Weakest Link. Like, I feel like Glee deserves something bigger than that. And not to discredit the show and, not to say that it's not a big thing or whatever, or not a big deal, but like, Glee deserves a better reunion than Celebrity Weakest Link. Like, this just seems, it's the typical theater kid treatment, like, you do all of this work and you whatever, and like, it's still, you get like the shitty end of the stick. Like, you still get no funding from your school after you put on this killer production. And there's just, it's the theater kid treatment. And we're seeing it with this Glee reunion. And honestly, I'm kind of let down. And I mean, as somebody who loves Glee so much, like, I remember watching the pilot of Glee and being like, this is going to alter my brain chemistry for the rest of my life. And that it did. I'm obviously excited to see the cast together, and they did a whole exclusive in Entertainment Weekly, I believe it was, and they all got back together, and Jane Lynch was in her Sue Sylvester outfit, the jumpsuit, and they did the photo with the L on their foreheads. And of course, I love seeing any of them together. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, mad about it. I just want more. When you think about Glee, like, Glee was such a cultural phenomenon. Like, it was literally a TV show jukebox musical that took over the world. It was everywhere. And for it to be having a 10-year reunion for the finale, and this is what we're getting, I'm just like, what? Like, this is all we could come up with? I want something more. And also on top of that, like, of course we've had cast members pass away, which is so heartbreaking. I mean, Naya Rivera, Corey Monteith is so sad. Mark Stanley has obviously also passed away, but I don't like to categorize him necessarily with them just because of the things that went down or was, uncovered when he did pass. But nonetheless, like, seeing the fact that like this whole cast is getting back together and it's not like a sit down type of show or documentary or anything, it just feels like they're getting the shitty end of the reunion stick. And in a world where we're living in so many reboots and reunions and, casts coming back together, like, this just seems like not the way they should be honoring a show that was so monumental to early 2010s culture. However, I don't want to be a complete negative Nancy about this, and it is still exciting to see any of the Glee cast reuniting, especially after all of the shit that they have been through. But it does kind of feel like a slap in the face in terms of reunions. But that being said, Celebrity Weakest Link will air on Fox on Monday, September 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So tune in or don't. Either way, it's gonna happen. And moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. This was a crazy fucking story from this weekend, you guys. So a Justin Bieber impersonator tricked his way into a Vegas nightclub and got paid to do a performance as Justin Bieber and fully convinced the entire staff that he was Justin Bieber. So he showed up to this club in Vegas, was taking photos of people outside, totally convinced security and the team and everybody that he was the real Justin Bieber, got on stage, performed like 3 or 4 songs before anybody realized that it wasn't actually him. And like, I understand it's Vegas, but like, how did you not realize that wasn't Justin Bieber? Because just looking at him from first glance, he resembled him for sure. Like, he definitely looked like Justin Bieber, but you can tell that it's not Justin Bieber, and I just don't understand how it got to the point that it did. I can understand like showing up somewhere looking like Justin Bieber and people being like, oh my God, that's him, let's take a photo. It's like that crazy girl who pretends to be Taylor Swift at the mall. Ashley, I think her name is. Remember that a few years ago when she would like literally go to the mall with security that she hired and pretend that she was Taylor Swift and take photos of people? It's giving that. However, like, this is like the Celebrity Impersonator final boss, I feel like. Like, this is crazy. The fact that he got on that stage, got paid for the gig. Like, did he get Justin Bieber's booking rate? Like, that's got to be a pretty penny. And I can't imagine that, like, the transaction went through after they found out it wasn't him. Like, I don't get how this happened. And like, it's crazy. I mean, like TMZ, Dumois, all like Pop Crave, everybody was reporting it. Everybody was posting it. And by the time the morning rolled around, they were deleting it because they were like, oh fuck, it's not him. And to add like fuel to the fire, Justin Bieber was literally seen out to dinner in West Hollywood, I think it was, that same night. So like, there's no way, obviously, just looking at the guy, you can tell it's not Justin Bieber. But like, it's just like crazy. Like Justin Bieber, I feel like doesn't really go out and about that often. But the same night that this happened, he's spotted getting dinner with Hailey in California while this is happening in Vegas. It was all just so crazy. And like, I can understand when like people get tricked by AI on the internet, but like if we are really letting our judgment down this bad when it comes to seeing somebody with our own two eyes and not being able to distinguish a celebrity impersonator from the real thing, and like don't get me wrong, celebrity impersonators they're really good at what they do. I mean, look at fucking Chad Michaels. Like that is literally Cher. You could not tell me walking down the street that is not Cher. However, this is not that. Like this person wasn't even there pretending to be, it wasn't even there as an impersonator. He fully was convincing these people that he was in fact Justin Drew Bieber, the one and only Justin Bieber. And I just like, how did they get to that point? It blows my mind. And when I saw this happen, I was like, this is a joke. Like there's no way this was serious. But he fully was on stage performing, and the videos are hilarious because you can tell he has no idea what he's doing. He is fully just like up there lip syncing for his life basically and acting like he's doing drag. What it was, he was doing drag. Like it's the craziest video. If you've not seen it, go look it up because it's a sight to see for sure. And I'm sure all of you are smarter than those people in Las Vegas and will immediately be like, yeah, that's not Justin Bieber. Even his tattoos, like he does have the exact same tattoos as Justin Bieber, but like they just don't look as, I mean, not that Justin Bieber's tattoos are anything to write home about because some of them are very fucking crazy and not the best tattoos you've ever seen in your life. But these tattoos were somehow even worse than that. And it was just like, these people had to be dumb as rocks to really think that was Justin Bieber. I saw this story and was like, this is crazy. Like, this is actually in fucking insane. And moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. Dua Lipa is Harper Bazaar's 2025 Bazaar Icon cover. So they announced today that their list of 2025 Bazaar icons include Dua Lipa, Chloe Kim, Benny Blanco, Sadie Sink, Eva Victor, Chase Hall, Raven Lenae, and Meg Stalter, with Dua Lipa being the woman of the hour because she is the cover star. And in the interview, she talked a lot about how she is working on new music already and trying to work on a new sound, things like that. And I just thought it was really interesting to think that she's already working on new music, considering the Radical Optimism tour hasn't even hit the US yet. I want to say it starts in the US in just a few weeks. And I'm like, you're already working on this new album? And considering like Dua Lipa, and I say this with love, she seems like somebody who really doesn't prioritize working as much as she does vacationing. And again, this is all with love, but like, she's on vacation 80% of the time, which only holds 20% of her life to, be working on music. And now she's engaged, so she's working on planning a wedding and things like that. So I'm just like, what do you mean you're already working on a new album if the Radical Optimism era is already, it hasn't even come to an end yet? However, she shared that every day she's working on something that sounds completely different from yesterday. And she said that trying to figure out the new direction is probably the most fun part, but also the hardest. She also shared that she has been recording with Mark Ronson again, which of course they did Dance the Night together. Beautiful lyric about her relationship. I said to her, I know this sounds really corny, but I feel like I'm watching you now as a woman deliver these new songs and this vocal. She was always mature and grown up because of the way that she grew up so fast, and she always had her shit together. But who she's become now is a new era for her as a songwriter and as a singer and as a human, which is exciting because, again, like I said, Mark and Dua have been working together for quite some time now. So I feel like they really have a good idea of who they are as artists and, their abilities with songwriting and vocal abilities and production, styles and things like that. So to see somebody who is so close to Dua, seeing this growth within her, over the years is exciting. I still stand by the fact that like in 4 years, people are going to look back at Radical Optimism and be like, wow, we were too hard on this album, because it is a solid body of work. Does it stand up next to Future Nostalgia? That's a different conversation, but I do think as its own project, it is a great body of work, and the lack of love and excitement behind that album really, it haunts me to this day, because I love it, and I honestly do listen to it pretty often. I go back to it here and there, a lot more than I feel like most people do. So that's saying a lot. But I'm curious to see like what this new era is for Dua. I mean, Future Nostalgia will always be one of my favorite albums of all time. And I mean, Dua has always put out great projects, but like that project was really just, it was perfection, start to finish. And I would love a disco kind of vibe again, but it seems like she's doing some type of different route. Who knows? Maybe she'll also go the Brat route like Coldplay's doing, and we'll just all be bumping that until 2029. Who knows? But regardless, it's exciting to see that she is working on some new endeavors. And of course, now that she is engaged and she's been in her relationship for quite some time now, we'll probably get some really fun love songs in this album. And maybe she can experiment with some more just like typical pop or things like that. I don't know. It's, I'm curious, but like I said, the Radical Optimism tour hasn't even hit the US yet. So I'm sure we have quite some time before she releases that album and kind of starts that album cycle. I'm trying to think, what was it? 3 years in between Future Nostalgia and Radical Optimism, maybe 4 years. Yeah, 2024 and it was 2020. So 4 years between those albums. So, who knows what she'll do in terms of release cycles and how many vacations she has booked in between the tour and when the next album comes out and the wedding and everything else going on. So we will see. But nonetheless, Dua Lipa, I am always buying whatever you are selling. So I am very excited to see whatever you have up your sleeve for this next era. And moving on to the next and final moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. This was actually a write-in from one of my listeners. So thank you so much. I put up a suggestion box on my Instagram story and said, is there anything you guys want to hear me talk about? Some things I do take, some things I don't. If it's something that I don't think is, this sounds harsh, but if it's something that I don't think is interesting to the audience, I'm not going to just like force a conversation. But what he wrote in was very interesting. Nazar, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Thank you so much for always DMing me and for writing in whenever I ask for a suggestion. So this one is for you, but also a very interesting conversation. So there's a conversation going on online about Tyla being a flop. And if she is, is like a one-hit wonder, one era wonder, whatever it may be. And I had seen people talking about Tyla a lot over the last few weeks, and I didn't really understand what the conversation was, because I was seeing a lot of different sides. And then when I got this submission for something to write about, I was like, all right, let me really dive into it and really see what's going on. And basically what's happening is her EP WWP came out and sold like 4,000 copies in 1 week, which on paper, yeah, it's not great. However, who gives a fuck? And we'll get into that in just a second. So people are calling her a flop and saying, she was maybe an industry plan, or with Water, it was just like a luck of the draw and things like that. I just think not every project's going to be as commercially successful as a song that was as big as Water. I think it's like triple platinum now. But that being said, there's a big conversation online around Tyla being a flop and being over and being done. And like I always say, music is so much more fun to enjoy when you aren't listening to the internet chirping in your ear about sales and streams and numbers. Like at its core, if the music is good, and especially Tyla, she is so in her own lane and like doing music that is so specifically for her and her audience. She's putting out great music. So to call somebody a flop because it's not selling as well, it doesn't discredit them as an artist or their musical talent or things like that. And it just like, it's crazy to think, because if you look back at Tyla and all of her accomplishments, she is the only artist this year to have multiple songs rank in the top 5 on the Billboard US Afrobeat Song Chart every week this year, with Dynamite, Push to Start, and Water all in the top 5 last week. She also had her album debut at number 24 on the Billboard 200 with 24,000 units sold last year. And then she also is the first African artist to have a solo song earn 1 billion streams with Water. So clearly, like, she is doing just fine, but the internet likes to be this evil kind of machine and just see somebody that they can prey on, take it, chew them up, and spit them out. And it just creates this really toxic environment within enjoying music, because it's like people are like, I'm not listening to that artist because she only sold so many copies and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, does anybody just like to have fun? Does anybody like to just listen to music because it's music and it's meant to be consumed and not to put like a value on an album or a project because it didn't sell as well? It's just similar to Radical Optimism. Like I was saying, like people just completely discredit that album because maybe it didn't chart as well as they wanted or sell as many. And I'm like, that doesn't mean it's a bad album or a bad project. And the internet is such a toxic place for that reason, and why I always say, like, the day that I realized how toxic being in, stan Twitters or things like that in those conversations, and once I like removed myself from that and was like, I'm better than this, and not to say anybody's better than anybody else, but like, it is a better mindset to be in. It is so much more fun to enjoy music when you just don't give a fuck anymore. And like seeing these conversations and like people writing, like just writing these think pieces about somebody being a flop of an artist on their second project because it didn't sell as well as their first one. And not to mention Tyla specifically, she is a South African artist. Like she is not from the US. So a lot of her fan base is based in South Africa, and her album charted in South Africa #1 on iTunes. All 4 of the songs on the EP charted on Spotify. And to that point, it's only 4 songs on an EP. This isn't a full project. This isn't an album. It's an EP. It's just something to kind of hold us over until the next project comes. So like, it doesn't need to be the most commercially successful. Like it doesn't need to be breaking records and being, #1 for 17 weeks and things like that. And like, just the way that people put these new pop girls in these weird categories based on sales. It's such a toxic and like, honestly, takes the fun out of what music is meant to be. And music is art that is supposed to be consumed, not because it's charting on Billboard or not because it's, getting all of these streams on Spotify. It's just to enjoy. And Tyla is making music for you to shake your ass to and have fun and just catch a vibe. And that's exactly what this EP is. Like, I don't understand what this conversation even stems from other than toxic stan culture. What I will say is I think the issue here is that her first album did so well, especially with Water being like the song of the summer when it came out, that now everybody is looking at Tyla with this lens of like, she has to continue on this up and up. And like, sometimes it is just the luck of the draw with a song, and it's not anything that has to do with your talent or your writing or your production or anything. It really is, especially in the TikTok age of music. Like sometimes a song just takes off, and it's a song that maybe you didn't even think was going to take off, or a song that like you didn't even think was going to be like the lead single or something like that. We're seeing it all the time with like old songs. Like look at what happened with Bloody Mary by Lady Gaga and Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. Like these are songs that came out years ago and got a second life because of TikTok. And now we're seeing the reverse effect where like these new artists are having these major big hits, and then they can't follow up with it because of how big the one song did on TikTok. So, it really is like a double-edged sword in that sense. I was also seeing a lot of people bringing up the conversation about her infamous 2024 Breakfast Club interview where Charlemagne brought up the comment that she made about her culture and where she's from, and saying that she is I don't want to misquote, he asked her about her comments on being a South African colored person, and she kind of like turned to her team and like was like, hey, can you help me with this? And they were like, hey, next question, keep it moving. And I know a lot of people hold that over her to this day, saying she was trying to hide her blackness and like, she wasn't trying to really be a part of the culture. Now, as a white man and not a black person, I can't really comment on how people respond to that. It's just not my place, and it's not something that it's not like a lived experience that I have, to be able to be like, oh, this was offensive because of this, or this was offensive because of that. However, I can fully see why a black person would have a bad taste in their mouth after that. She has made statements since and, tried to right her wrongs. And she said that I never deny my blackness. I mix with Black, Zulu, Irish, Mauritian, Indian, and colored. But again, I'm not black, so I can't sit here and be like, she was right for this or wrong for that. That is not a battle that I am, or a conversation that I am a part of, just point blank what it is. But I do see why that would, have that negative effect on people's opinions on her. However, I do think it has been some time and she's made the statements, and I don't necessarily think that 100% correlates to the success of her music because, like I said, she is still charting in South Africa and she is still, holding these records with Water and Push to Start. So there's still some replay there, and she is charting on all the Afrobeat charts here in the US. So I don't think that has as much as a pull as some people think it does, but I'm sure it does definitely, knock some people out of the Tyla pool because they're just like, not for me. I'm not subscribing to that narrative. So I can see either way how it goes. And then the last thing that I will say about this topic is that I do think her team did a terrible job pushing this EP. Like, it really didn't make noise anywhere, which is why it didn't sell as well. I just think they were really relying on the success of her past singles to kind of ride the wave of this EP, just like picking up from the coattails of these songs, and not really how things work. In today's age, you still have to put that work in. I know I barely even saw this EP come across my desk. I feel like I barely saw it on socials, and it really wasn't popping up anywhere until the numbers came out, and then it started to make some noise because people were like, oh wow, it only sold 4,000 copies. Like, clearly no one's listening and no one's into it. But I'm like, that's not a Tyla problem, it's her team's problem. And when you go to the album on Apple Music, it does say, it says, this is just a taste to get you excited for Tyla's next full-length project. So I do think that this is also a really great learning opportunity for her team to be like, hey, so last time we tried this, it didn't work. Whatever we were doing wasn't working. We need to, put this thing down, flip it and reverse it and try something new and do an entirely new marketing campaign for the full album that comes out, because that is the real project that you want to succeed. An EP, it can just roll off as a passion project. It is what it is. And, you just see if the fans are enjoying it, or if they're not, you do what you got to do. And, you make some adjustments where it is. So I will be watching closely to Tyla and her team to see what they do differently when the full project does end up coming out, and how they push her, how they position her, if she's performing at award shows. I know she's nominated for Best Afrobeats again at the VMAs this year. I don't know if she's performing. I don't know if she's performing, if, any other award shows coming up or anything really. Like, I don't know what's on her radar, if she's on anybody's radar as of now, considering what the conversation going on online. But I do think this is a really great opportunity for her team to adjust their strategies, and for Tyla it's fun to take your guys's, hear what you guys want me to talk about. And again, I do apologize if you write in and it's not something that I think is fitting for this show. However, I will DM you and be like, hey, not something I'm, really well versed on, so I am going to skip this, but thank you for writing in. So I do appreciate all the write-ins, but I can't cover every submission because sometimes it's just not something that I think will ring true to my audience, because it's not something that I am interested in. However, Tyla flopping is something that I was interested in talking about. And that wraps up our main segment of the show, our pop culture rapid fire. But we do have a TV recap this week because I did catch up on Love Island Beyond the Villa. And I'm just going to say it again. Every single time that I see Kenny on my television, I want to punch the screen. I cannot stand looking at this man. He just drives me up the wall. The other thing I will say about Love Island Beyond the Villa is that they are really pushing this Kayla and Aaron story. And now we know in real time that Kayla and Torin are dating. So we know that it doesn't end up working out. But the producers are producing, and they are really trying to sell this storyline of Kayla and Aaron potentially getting back together. I am so happy that we know it doesn't work out that way. But like, even just watching this last episode when they were at Saddle Ranch and Aaron getting so mad at Kayla for bringing Torin around, I understand what he was saying in terms of like, if he brought a girl around, she would be upset. But I think they're both allowed to be upset. I just don't think the way that he handled it was the proper way. Like, I think pulling her aside at Saddle Ranch and like while Torin is standing 3 feet away, I was like, that was fucking crazy of you. Why are you doing this right now? Like, let the night go on, have a fun night with your villa mates, and just like enjoy the party. And then like call Kayla the next day or ask to get coffee or something. Like, do this not when everybody is around. Granted, Who knows if it could have been the producers pushing it? I don't know. But regardless, it was just such a weird conversation to have in front of Torrent and the rest of the cast. And I just think Aaron completely overreacted in this sense. Also, speaking of producers, like filming things that I feel like shouldn't be on camera, when Kenny and Janae went on their anniversary date, and then afterwards they're like getting in the car and they're all upset, the producers like going into the cars and being like, what's going on? What happened? Like, why aren't you guys talking? Are you guys okay? What's going on? Very weird. Like, just a very weird situation. And like, I don't know if that was supposed to originally make the cut, but maybe they added that in to kind of like hurt Kenny's cause more and just be like, hey, like we're showing that like we are trying to shine light on the fact that this relationship wasn't all peaches and cream. Like, I don't know if the producers were originally going to show the downside of their relationship had all of this not come out about them. But I am enjoying seeing any, instance of Kenny being painted as a bad person, and because he is one. And the fact that he like went behind Janae's back and was talking to Miguel about like their living situation and things like that. I understand like your friend asks about it. You want to tell them you're going to be honest, but there's a different way to go about it. And like Janae said, I didn't want to live away from you. You wanted to live separately. So to say that we both decided is incorrect. And Leah and Miguel knew that. So for Kenny to just like lie on the situation, if he would have been honest about it and just like from the jump and like, yeah, I want to live separately and have my space, we're going to move in eventually. For him to lie on the situation and lie on what Janae wanted, just, again, I want to punch the screen anytime Kenny is on my television. And that is my Love Island reunion, recap, whatever. Like I said, I'm enjoying Love Island Beyond the Villa now, only because we've gotten past the living Kaylor of it all, because that was my one thing where I was like, I can't keep watching this. And we haven't really seen them interact too much, so I'm fine with that. I'm like, all right, maybe we're past that. They're good, whatever. It's all peaches and cream, or like they're just actually like not going to work out. But I am watching every scene with Kenny and Janae with a different lens now, not because I hate Kenny, but also not only because I hate Kenny, but because now I'm like, all right, did the producers originally plan to put this footage in, or are they doing it to show the holes in their relationship so it looks it looks true to a reality show and it looks true to what was actually happening in the real world? We will probably never know, but I am also curious, like, are they filming another season of this show with the cast? And if that's the case, were cameras up when Janae found out about the text with Kenny? Like, I need to know if like we are gonna get like a Monica reality Von Teese moment where like Heather Gay is in her hotel room and slams the door and is like, I need to talk to you right now, and like calls the girls to the beach. Like, I need to know if that is on camera. I don't think it is, but if it is, I would like to see it. I would like to see, it all go down, because I want to know. I just know Janae had some words for that man, and I would love to see what she was putting down, what she was turning up to make sure that Kenny got burned the way he deserved it. But that being said, that is my Love Island Beyond the Villa recap. But we also have the Love Island Season 7 reunion coming up this Monday. So on next week's episode, we will talk all about it. I am very excited to see what is going on with this cast since they left the villa. I know somebody who worked on the reunion and got a little bit of, behind the scenes, some insight of what went down. I'm not going to share anything, obviously, or share more than that because I can't. But I'm excited. I'm very excited to see what goes down and who shows up and who doesn't for the reunion. That's all I would say for that. And moving on to the final segment of the show, we end every single episode of Too Pop to Handle with a yes and a mess. A yes being something I am loving and a mess being something I am not loving. And we always start things on a high note here at Too Pop to Handle. So kicking it off with my yes this week is Cat's Eye and Gap's new campaign. This is the first true celebrity endorsement, denim, jean, whatever the fuck word you want to say, campaign that we have seen since the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle debacle that happened a few weeks ago. And Gap and Cat's Eye killed it with this campaign. It is perfection. And like, I don't think it's a response to American Eagle. I don't think, it was anything to do with that. But this is how you do a jeans ad. Like, this is the way that you do it. It is the Better in Denim campaign. And the girls are dancing to Milkshake by Khalees. It's very like early 2000s kind of vibe commercial. They have a simple backdrop. They are just doing their thing, doing their dances, showing off the clothes. And like, it's not a big crazy produced thing. There's not sets or anything. It is simply them wearing the clothes, dancing on the screen, very like old school, kind of like Old Navy kind of vibes. You know what I'm talking about when I talk about a commercial like that. And I love it. I think it's a genius collaboration. Cat's Eye is having such a moment right now. And I was saying a few weeks ago that I really want to get into them more because I feel like they are really just the moment right now. So I definitely need to like dive into it. My friend Tashi, who I know listens every single week, so hi Tashi, she sent me their Netflix documentary actually. So I want to watch that and then continue to like dive into their music. But as far as just like them as a vibe, I am buying everything they are selling. I also love this partnership because there are so many members of the group. I believe there's 7 of them. And they all get to show off a different style. They all have a vibe, a different style, a different look. So it really makes sense for groups like this to do campaigns like that because they're able to show off so many different styles. And Cat's Eye, of course, is known for their music, but also their dances and their choreography is like a huge part of their brand. And seeing them do their dancing to Milkshake by Khalees and this commercial, it just all made so much sense. And it was so perfectly done. And I just loved that we can see, a jeans advertisement that isn't rooted in racism and hating people that aren't blonde hair, blue-eyed white women. But yeah, this was perfect. You can choke on an American Eagle and I will be shopping at Gap for my jeans over you. And switching gears over to my mess of the week, something I am not loving is this whole uproar over the NFL having male cheerleaders. So for as long as I can remember, there have always been male cheerleaders, whether it was NFL, a high school, a college, there have always been men performing with the cheerleaders. Like, this isn't a new concept, but the Vikings posted a TikTok or a reel the other day, and it included 2 new male cheerleaders, and they said like the next era of cheerleading is here or something like that. And the internet had a field day saying this isn't cool. Why are we putting men in the cheerleading? Like, why is this happening? Where a whole lot of homophobic bullshit. And it's just so confusing to me because this isn't a new concept. And men have always been cheerleading, whether they have been spotters, whether they have been doing the flip, whether they have been whatever it is. Like, they have always been in these routines. Like, this is not a new concept. So I just don't understand where this is all coming from. I was really happy to see that the Vikings responded exactly how you would want them to. And they said, while many fans may be seeing male cheerleaders for the first time at Viking games, male cheerleaders have been a part of previous Vikings teams and have long been associated with collegiate and professional cheerleading. In 2025, approximately 1/3 of NFL teams have male cheerleaders. Every member of the Minnesota Vikings cheerleaders program had an impressive dance background and went through the same rigorous audition process. Individuals were selected because of their talent, passion for dance, and dedication to elevating the game day experience. And it's like, why are we gendering anything anymore? I feel like I would love to say that we have moved so far past this, but our current administration and the, orange asshole in charge has put us back so many years just in the few months that he has been in office. But it's just like, it's so wild to me to see people still being flabbergasted over men on a cheerleading team or, trans people running in the Olympics. And like, it's just like people are so worried about everything but themselves. And like, if everybody just worried about themselves and the things that actually affected them and not gay marriage, not immigrants in this country, not men being cheerleaders, it would be a lot simpler world that we would live in. But everybody has to be in everybody's business and they have to judge this person because they're gay, this person because they're black and marrying a white person, this person because the guy wants to do a few fucking somersaults on the Vikings football field. Like, why does everybody care so much? It blows my mind. And I know that like I'm not alone in this thought process, but like the fact that they had to put out a statement saying like, hey, male cheerleaders isn't a new thing. We've been doing this for years. And like, it's on you to not have noticed that or to suddenly be mad about it. And like, you can't help but assume it's because our president is allowing for this evil, awful hate speech around anybody who isn't a rich white man or a Sydney Sweeney. Like, it's just, it's so disheartening and so fucking annoying that I cannot do it. It is driving me up the fucking wall. We are living in hell, but at least we have Too Pop to handle to, get us through our weeks, because this is like my weekly therapy, my second weekly therapy, because I also have therapy on Thursdays, but this is like my, my pop culture therapy. And I hope that this podcast can be a therapeutic hour and change as well. That being said, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you liked what you heard and you're listening to us as a podcast, make sure you go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe. Give me a big thumbs up. Drop a comment down below. You know the drill. Do everything except hit dislike. If you would like some extra moments from the week that were just Too Pop to Handle in between podcast episodes, head down to the description and click on my Substack link and subscribe to my weekly newsletter Popping In, and you can get some extra pop culture nonsense directly to your inbox every single weekend, so you never miss a beat of what's going on in the pop culture world. And if you would like to follow me on social media, I am at Too Pop to Handle or at Andrew Nucatola across all platforms. I will have everything linked down below. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.